Today's podcast is brought to you by the Law Office of Joseph Hunchuck, PA. Here at the Law Office of Joseph Hunchuck, PA, I help you with your family issues, criminal issues, and even DUI. If you have child support that has been issued by the court and your income has changed or your spouse's income has went up, you don't need to be paying as much. You need to get your child support modified. Now, your child support's not going to change until you get it modified, so it's important you get it taken care of as soon as possible so you don't fall behind. You can call us at Joseph Hunchuck, PA, and we will help you fill out the forms to see exactly what can be done, set up your hearing, and get you set and get your child support modified. We also handle divorces here. If you have an uncontested divorce, it can be handled in as little as 2 weeks, as long as everybody gets their paperwork in and everything is done on time. So if you can see if your divorce can be expedited, or if we can help you out in a regular divorce and try to get everything settled in your best interest, give us a call. Once again, we also do criminal cases as well. I'm a former deputy sheriff. I had 4 years on the job in Orange County. I have much experience with the law enforcement side of criminal acts and criminal cases, and I will use my experience to help you to defend you in your criminal cases. We will see if your civil rights have been violated, see if the cops have done everything properly, and give you the best defense possible. We specialize in misdemeanors at a special rate, but we also do felonies as well and violations of probation. So give us a call. And once again, we do DUIs. As a former deputy, I tried to specialize and tried to get as many DUIs as possible because they were special types of cases. I will use my experience to help you see if there is a reason to get rid of your DUI, to get the charges dismissed, to see if you're eligible for pretrial diversion, and to see if the cops did everything properly, so the case might be wholly dismissed whatsoever. We will give you the best defense possible and do everything in your best interests. Once again, family law, criminal law, DUI. The Law Office of Joseph Hunchuck will help you with all of those. Give us a call at 321-231-9093 or visit the website HunchuckLaw.com. Follow us on Twitter at HunchuckLaw. Once again, the phone number is 321-231-9093. Don't say call Hunchuck. Hello, everybody, and happy Independence Day. It's July 4th if you're listening to this when it's uploaded. If not, then what the hell were you waiting for? It is Independence Day here in the United States of America, and today I'm giving you a special podcast. Yeah, it's kind of weird. We haven't even had the real first episode. We only had episode 0, but we're still going to put a special anyway. Right off the bat, if you might notice, that little pinging and that little hum in the background seems to be gone. We cured that problem since episode 0, hence why it was called episode 0. Trying to work the bugs out, get this thing going. But today, we got a very special episode. It is a recording I did back in the year 2001. I interviewed my grandfather for a history project when I was at UCF, an oral history project. I did it over the phone. He's going to be telling his stories about World War II and his experience in the Navy, what led up to it, and how everything went forward. Now, I got to apologize off the bat. First of all, this was recorded on a tape deck back in 2001 using a phone jack, literally plugged into the landline phone that plugged into the microphone slot on this tape deck. And so the quality is, let's just say, subpar, not up to 2014 technology, but give me a goddamn break. It was 13 years ago. What was I supposed to do? Also, my interviewing skills. I am a, 20-year-old kid at this point. Had no idea what the hell I was doing, so my interview skills are kind of awful. Fortunately, Pap knew exactly how to tell a story. He loved it, so without further ado, let's break into this. Here's Pap's World War II stories for this 4th of July Independence Day. Enjoy.
Born in Grays Landing, Pennsylvania.
Okay, and what were you doing on September 1st, 1939?
September the 1st, 1939. I remember what had happened, but I was, 17 or 16? I was born in 24 and 6 is 30. 30 and 9 and 6 is 15 years old. I think I was in school when we got the news.
What was your first thoughts about it?
Well, we didn't think much about it, but I remember the one teacher remarking that we all better get ready. Everyone 15, 16 in a couple of years will be in a different war, in the war, and we might as well get ready.
What did you think about it? What was going on?
Well, at that time, we were just getting out of a depression. A couple of years out of it. From 36, I think 1936 it leveled off. So we just had no thoughts about it. I didn't think it would last that long.
What did your family think about it? What was going on?
They were kind of shook up, but they didn't think it was going to last.
Okay. On December 7th, 1941, the Japanese attack. How did you react to that?
That's the one that shook me up. I was home. I remember it like yesterday. My mother's friend was there, and we had a little radio, and it came over. The Japanese just bombed and killed around 3,500 people, which I think was 2,500. But from then on, we knew we was going to be drafted, because by that I was 17 or 18.
And were you drafted?
Yes.
Into the Navy, right?
Yeah, I went in the Navy, armed guard.
Okay, what was basic training like? What did they do?
Well, first you had to learn how to swim. They took us and threw us off of a dock, and you had to paddle your way to shore. Of course, I knew how to swim, so it didn't bother me that much. And then we manned. I was in a 20 millimeter unit. We went out on Long Island, I remember, and from there we were shooting at a drone that was dragged across the sky, and that was basically what we were. We took the gun, learned how to take the gun all apart, kept it clean, get rid of the salt water, and that's about. And just, I think we were there 12 weeks or less. Then from there we went to I think it was Camp Shelton, Virginia.
What was the feeling among the people with you? Were they like scared or?
No, I don't think anybody was scared. We didn't know what to expect. And we had the feeling that we were going to win no matter what.
Did you feel that the training prepared you later on? Was it?
Yeah, I liked the gun. I got to liking it.
Okay, after basic training, where did they send you?
After basic training, that's a little faded, you know. I think that's after that we went to Camp Shelton. Then we were assigned to a ship.
What ship was it?
The first one was John G. Whittier. SS John G. Whittier.
And what did they have you do there?
Well, my job was to shoot a 20 millimeter gun at any airplanes or submarines or any enemy vessels.
What were your shipmates like? What kind of people were they? How old? What color?
Well, we had all white ones, and they were all not. We didn't, just going through the basics and starting out on the ship. You just didn't have you didn't worry about nothing.
Everybody was kind of relaxed?
Yes.
Okay, did you actually leave for war on that ship?
How's that?
When did you actually leave for war?
I got drafted in July 1943, July 28th.
Okay, but once you're on the ship, you're assigned to a ship and everything. When did they actually head out?
Can you hold on a little bit? Let me go get my book again.
Okay.
I glanced at it. I didn't look at it enough.
No
I got all the dates in there.
Okay, I'll pause. All right, go ahead.
I was in camp, what the heck's the name of it? Sampson, New York for 7 weeks. Then from there we went to Camp Shelton, Virginia from September till October for 1 month.
And what went on there? What did they have you do?
That's where we were training how to use a pistol and stuff, a pistol. And we didn't train on rifles, just mostly a 38 pistol. And then we went over to 20 millimeter a good bit.
And after Camp Shelton, where did they send you next?
After Camp Shelton, I'm going to turn these pages. Okay. November 30, we went to Brooklyn. November the 1st, or September the 30th. 1982 Brooklyn, Flushing Avenue. No, that was Camp Shelton. God darn, I get this backwards. And Brooklyn was there November the 1st, 1943. Armed Guard Center in Brooklyn. November the 10th, we went there 10 days later. We boarded the SS John G. Whittier on November 11, 1943. From Brooklyn, but then we went to the, from Brooklyn we went, I got to, it says John McDonough, but we went on to Whittier first. Let me see where we went. I got to turn this darn page over.
No, that's okay.
We embarked from, here we are. We embarked from New York Harbor December the 2nd, 1943 on the ship SS John G. Whittier. We arrived in Newport, England, Newport, South Wales on December the 20th.
And what was England like? What did you see there?
Well, we had some bad weather, but we didn't have no action, nothing.
When did you first encounter the enemy?
The first encounter we had was when we, I forget what trip, I didn't even write that down, but I distinctly remember it. Let me check his other page, Joe, see if I have it.
Okay.
Okay, I just got the officer stuff. From Newport, South Wales, we went to Halifax, Nova Scotia. You want the date?
Yeah, okay.
January 28, 1944. We embarked from Halifax, and that used to be Torpedo Alley, up in around Newfoundland and in that Halifax area out in the water. The Germans used to pick our ships off like picking cherries off of a tree. That's where they sunk most of the armed guard or the merchant ships. Our job was to man the guns on merchant ships. That was our basic, the reason we were there for. And you want to know how many guns we had?
Oh, okay.
Aboard the ship we had 8 millimeters and a 3-inch and a 4-inch gun. Front end, on the front of the ship we had a 3-inch, and on the rear of the ship we had a 4-inch. And there are 4 guns on each side at 20 millimeters. Okay.
Now, how did you and the other guys on your ship react the first time you encountered the enemy?
Well, we actually didn't get into a battle, Joe. What happened? The one trip across, I didn't have it marked down here, but it could have been on the first one or the second one. Well, we got lost. Our ship got lost, and we woke up in the morning, and the glass was the entire ocean was a flat piece of glass. You didn't see a wrinkle nowhere. So we were sitting there. We were kind of scared then because that's where they sunk a lot of ships in that area. So we had to watch for a little wrinkle, and everything was loaded. Everybody was waiting and watching. So we finally reached Halifax, and we didn't get no action there. So the only other time we made the trip, we went across the ocean. I was on my gun was on the bridge part, the middle of the ship, and my buddy was on the front end. He was on his gun was up in the front end, and he hollered, "There's a shark or something coming down the water." You know, from the front. He was in the bow, and it whistled and missed us about 10 or 15 feet. So I looked out, and you could see it was a torpedo just coming. What the Germans would do is they had wolf packs, and they'd get in front of a convoy. We'd have 300 to 400 ships. And they'd spread, at night they'd spread a mile apart, which saved a lot of them. And they would get up in front and they'd shoot a torpedo, hoping to hit one and making a light up the sky. And they could pick off 3 or 4 or 5 more real quick. But they didn't get that. That day they didn't sink any. But the next day was about on the horizon. We saw smoke where they must have hit one of our ships the next day. So from there we went to Liverpool, England on February the 22nd, 1944.
What was life like on the ship? Oh.
We had it pretty nice. I can't complain. We had a crowded quarters, 6 of us in a little shoebox. But we had good food. I can't complain too much. Not a bit, because everything was frozen. And
what was like the daily routine?
Daily routine, we'd get up and we'd muster out, and we'd have drills, and mostly guard duty is what we did. That was our basic job, just stand by and get ready, be ready for anything. There were some days we slept with our clothes on when we were in hostile waters, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But actually seeing the ship sunk, and the only one I'll get to that later. Okay, we were also in Manchester, England on March 44. From Manchester, we went to Eccles, Scotland. And the funny thing happened up there. There was looked like a mine from where we were at, you know, and it was floating in the water. And because a lot of times they would put the mines on the bottom of the entrance to the places, and we figured it broke loose because it was buoyant. So one of the kids, we didn't know what to do, so one of the kids from Kentucky, let's shoot it for while we're about a half a mile away from it so it doesn't float up closer and you can't detonate it. So he said he was a crack shot. So I don't know how many shots he shot, but pretty soon we got a radio message from an English ship, and they come flying over there, and they said, "Good shooting, mates, but you were shooting at a can." Everybody was laughing at this Kentucky. I think I hit it a couple times. I don't think he hit it any. It was a good over half a mile away. Then on March 11, we went back to New York to pick up more. We was hauling merchandise, and our job was in the Navy. And just let me see what I got on this next page. Okay, then we got transferred. I didn't put no dates on it. I should have here.
That's okay.
We got transferred to the SS John McDonough. Let me see if I can find a date here real quick. Oh yeah, I got it here. I got all the dates on a separate page. Okay, we left we arrived in New York from Scotland, and we left New York on March 30th, 1944. We arrived in Boston, Massachusetts on March 31. From Boston, we went back to New York. New York, we went to Brombury Docks on May the 4th, 44. New Ferry, England. From there, we went to May the 25th. We went up to Oban, Scotland, to get our ship prepared to haul troops. So we were going to put 400 bunks in it. And we were shuttling troops across the bay, across the English Channel.
And that was for D-Day?
Yeah, well, we didn't make... what happened, they were a little late putting ours together. We missed all the excitement. We were kind of ready for it. Everybody was shook. They wanted to go. Go ahead.
Did you know something was like going on at that time? Like they were preparing for something big?
Well, we didn't know really what was going on. That was kind of secret. But it was, the Germans had an idea we was going to invade, but they didn't know where. And one of my jobs was they let the soldiers out on a night on the town, the day before we was picking them out. Where was that? From Glasgow, we went to Southampton. That's where we getting ready to load up and go to Normandy Beach was our place, Utah. I think it was Omaha. I got it here somewhere. But anyway, so they called us one day. They said, put your uniforms on in an empty 38. You're going to direct the soldiers. They're all drunk to the barracks so they don't stray off. So I was standing there, and you can imagine all these soldiers going, oh, look at the sailor, boy. He got a pistol. they made light of it, And I told the captain, I said, what good is carrying an empty gun? It's worse than having a full gun. So from Southampton, we was on Omaha Beach. And we arrived there before December. We had to finish putting the bunks in or something. Something was late about it. Because they was debating on invading because the weather got real bad. But they went ahead with it anyway, or we would have been right in the middle of it. From June the 10th, we went D4. And things were pretty, well, they weren't quite because you could see all the shooting. And our battleships are still shooting at 15, 20 miles inland with them big guns. And it was just one continuous, all day long. I don't know how many thousands of shells they put over there. And we went back, I forget how many trips we made between there and Southampton and England, and dropped them off in Omaha Beach.
What was like the attitudes of the guys that were getting on the ships ready to go over?
Well, they seemed, they didn't know what to expect. I think most of them weren't in too many battles, but the battle-hardened guys were. I can't remember. They just, everybody had to, they knew they was going into a war. And like I say, we were camped on Normandy. Let's see what day. From June to 10th is when we were there, and then we shuttled back and forth till August the 16th. From Southampton to France. August the 16th. We left. Yeah, we were between her and. The only thing that I remember we were watching, our bombers were just continuously bombing the Germans in past Normandy and Omaha and Utah Beach in Juneau. And then our planes would be coming back, and you'd see 4, 5, 6 hit, because they used to shoot. They must have had 5,000 88 millimeter guns shooting up in the air, because there'd be like a million dots from what the shells were exploding at our bombers. We lost a lot of planes in that war from the German 88 millimeter. What else?
After France, after the D-Day and everything, where did you head to next?
From Southampton, we went to Belfast, Scotland. We were only there, one day, I think it was. Left Belfast on August the 20th. We were there 20th. Oh, no, we arrived 16th. Then we left it on August the 20th. We came back to New York in September the 2nd, 44. I got 16-day leave. And that's when we left the SS John G. Whittier. When I got back, let me get the other page here. I had to go to report to Boston Harbor. And we got attached to John G. Whittier on September the 25th, 44. We left Boston last October the 6th, 44. We arrived in Methil, Scotland on October the 21. We left it on November the 26th, November 26, 1944. From there we went to South End, England on October the 20th. I got that date maybe wrong. We left South End 21st of October. I got two different South Ends here. I can't remember how that happened. Okay, we left South End on November the 28th. We must have came from Scotland back down to, went back one of them places. I can't remember that one. I got it here backwards. From November the 28th, we arrived in Antwerp, Belgium, November the 28th.
And what happened in Belgium?
That's where we could smell the gunpowder there, and that's where I got twisted, got my knee hurt. But we was playing football, not the action. And we would watch those V2, V1 bombers, that automatic plane or whatever.
The rocket.
The rocket. Every night at 6 o'clock, he'd try to catch. You'd see him shooting. And Joey, we bombed that. Our planes bombed and bombed. They were half a mile underground. They couldn't never find that. I forget. They finally invaded, and that's when they got it.
Yeah.
But every night you'd see these little planes flying up. They'd shoot them up and they'd go right over top of us. They were back in there about a mile or two or three, something. I forget how far it was inland. And they were underground with everything. So we would bomb it so much that even our eardrums were rattling. Okay.
Okay, and where'd they send you after Antwerp?
After we left, we were in Belgium. That's where I got hurt, and I got taken off the ship.
How'd that happen?
Well, my knee, I thought it was broke. The guy landed on it, and the Army sent a jeep out, and they took me to the what do you call those hospitals near the battle?
Field hospital.
Field hospital, and boy, was I scared. I was real scared then, because our ship was leaving that night. They were going back to New York. No, they was going to New York, yeah. So the thing that happened, I was in there, and they were bringing in these guys from being shot up, and oh my God, Joe, I can still hear them moaning and crying. So the doctor looked at me and he said, you look like a coal miner from Pennsylvania. I said, yeah, you guessed that. He said, I just can smell a coal miner. I'm from there. He was a doctor, and he says, fella, we're looking for Germany. He's planning a big push, and they're going to take this place over, so I hope we can get you out of here at least. So he had me x-rayed in 10 minutes. He come back with the x-ray. He said, get back. By then, Joe, it was about 9 at night. It was dark. And our ship was leaving at 9, but we were about 5 or 6 miles away from it or something like that. Because we could hear the front line. You could smell the smoke almost. So the soldier, how he could see drive, he had very, them shaded lights.
Yeah.
So you could see down. And he drove me back to the ship area. So we got down there, and he was driving close, and a big fog set in. You could see within about 30, 40 feet. He got out and he looked. He says, I think your ship left, buddy. I'll take you back to the Army barracks. I said, oh, my God. So I turned around and getting ready to get in there. I heard somebody cough. I said, wait a minute. There's something down there. He says, are you sure? I said, let me go down and look. I walked down there, and one of my friends from Pittsburgh. He says, Joe. I said, Bill. We'll be right about 10 of them come down and got my duffel bag and stuff. I can't remember if they gave me a crutch. I think they did. And man, was I happy to be on that boat, because Hitler promised to level Scotland, or Antwerp, if he doesn't take it by Christmas. And this is December the 22nd. So let's see, on the 22nd we left Southend, we left Antwerp, and on the 24th, I think it was, when later on, I ran into a friend of mine who was there. He said, you're not going to believe how many bombs he dropped on it. How many people he just killed. He tried to level it off. Because we had ammunition and stuff for our soldiers, they was unloading it.
Right.
So from there we went back to England. From England back to New York. Then back to on March 4th, 45, excuse me,
Right.
we went back to Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland. March 11, 45, we left. Then we went to Murmansk, Russia. We made about the last wartime trip. I think it was March the 20th.
Yeah, it was right around there.
We passed 2 submarines going up to Russia. And they had a white flag out, so we didn't see no marking where they were German. We assumed they were German submarines. They surfaced and they were going back. Or we were going. That's where they used to stink all our ships up in Murmansk. So we had tons of sugar and airplanes, tanks, and every kind of other stuff, taking them to Russia. So on the way up, Joe, we was going down the Murmansk River, and a ship in front of us hit a mine. And about 15 or 20 Russian little boats come flying out there and threw the ropes on it and pulled it over to the shallow water where they'd save it. And that's what they did.
Did you actually see people in Russia?
Oh, yeah, we went in town. We went in their towns. We went to see movies. They used to have, they sure weren't our friends. They used to have a guard at the bottom of the gangplank. And a lot of times we'd play pass ball on the ship and we'd go over on the docks. We'd go down, you'd have to show him your pass. Because a lady come on the ship before we docked and issued us a pass. And they gave the merchantman 300 rubles, I remember that. And only way we could, the captain says, you can get your rubles, just take some candy bars. Kids carry money. They have no, there's no value to their money. So we would go see movies. They'd have 5 Russian movies, all about wartime and the revolutions they had over there.
Yeah.
And they would have, and we had one, I can remember the one time, I don't know how many times I went, but we were there 45 days, I think. And Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney, and they would go into it. I can remember that like yesterday. You know how they'd go into a drugstore and everything. Then they had an interpreter there for the Russian movies.
Yeah.
She said, well, I don't believe that. She was sure anti-American. She said, that's propaganda. Plus your press doesn't like us, and they always put rotten notes. And what irritated me when she said, we get 2 weeks vacation anywhere in Russia. I says, by the way, lady, I says, I'd like to interrupt you. The guard at the bottom of our gangplank got 2 boat legs were shot with 2 bullet holes. In America, that would be light duty. He'd be not standing around on his feet for 10 or 12 hours, or how many hours he used to be there. We couldn't even give him, we'd sneak him a cup of coffee once in a while. But for a couple 2-3 weeks, he wouldn't take nothing. And that was our excitement going to... There were no stores. We saw one, unless it was further inland, and we would go to a docking area with tons and tons and tons of supplies. And I remember they had young kids, 15, 14, 16, carrying a rifle, guarding between all the and everyone. When we had a lane we had to walk through. Then we went to a shed and they triple checked our IDs. So one amusing thing happened when we were in Russia. We went to this hotel. It was about a 10-story or 12. And they had like a counter there. And you don't remember old dynamite boxes. A square box like a carton, but it was wooden like made. And that was their cash register.
Yeah.
I could never forget. So this kid from Alabama was a friend of ours. He got 300 rubles. Come on, Joe. Me and my buddy... He said, I'll buy you something. We went over to this counter.
Okay, you went to the store?
Yeah, to a big hotel, and Joe, they had a stuffed bear. I swear he was about 10 or 12 feet tall, with his arms spread out and everything. And we come in through the side door, and the bear was in the middle of pretty close to on the end of the lobby of the hotel. So as we walked in, it stunk so bad you can't believe it. That would be, they'd shut that place down in Gray's Landing if they had. That's how bad it stunk. So the bear, when they stuffed it, they must have put who knows what in it, or the skin was there yet, and it stunk like hell. So my buddy, I nudged him, I said, look out there, and he looked up and he almost took off. It was such a huge bear. So then when we went over to that counter, I was going to finish that, he picked up a whole bunch of perfume, and he's holding his 300 rubles in his hand. He's looking at the girl, which, by the way, she was kind of cute. She says, he said, how much, lady? She couldn't understand him. So he holding his money out. She grabbed the whole lot and threw it in a box and turned away from him. And he looked up. He said, hey, lady, how about my change? What's going on around this country? Give me my change. And we had to drag him away. He wanted to go climb over and get his... And the Russian guard appeared out of nowhere right away, and he come walking over. So we finally dragged this kid away from it. We used to call him Alabama. So that was our excitement for that. But then what else?
Okay,
I forget what we would do up there. We had a lot of drills. But like one big word we had, now this is a friendly, it's supposed to be our ally. Before we left the ship, we had a big meeting, and our lieutenant, he was the captain, he says, whatever you guys do, when you go walking down through one of them streets or anything and somebody says, malt, halt, halt, stop and freeze. They're allowed to, we have no jurisdiction, none at all here. And you'll be shot dead before and there's nothing we can do about it, absolutely nothing. We'd write home, you're killed in action. Man, that was scary there, you know. I said, they're our friends. He said, yeah, they're your friends, but you know what? So another thing up there they had, I remember, no little kids around. We looked, there was bigger ones, like 12, 13, 14, but 3, 4, 5 years old. You never saw any of them. So my one buddy went to we didn't go every day in town. He went in. He said, Joe, you want to see all the little kids? I said, yeah, where the heck they at? He said, come on, we'll go take a look. So we went down to a train station, like, and there was maybe 2,000 or 3,000 little kids, if I can remember. They were all in uniform. And these kids were 4 or 5 years old, Joe, maybe younger. And they were all in uniform, and they had like I call him a sergeant, shouting orders in Russian, you know, if one of them got out of line or speaking or whatever. I couldn't believe it. I said, we were just in shock, most of us. I said, holy God, all their kids are being trained from babies up. We're going to have to fight these guys, it looks like. So other than that, one other incident we had, they had a barn filled with American merchandise to ship to our prisoners in Germany. They'd ship it through Sweden. It was a neutral country. So the Army guy in charge of that area up there, he come in our ship and he asked if we'd volunteer to help load that up on a train. Yet it's about 50 feet away. And there's too many sacks and boxes of shoes. We need everybody we can get. So we lined up, Joe, and we passed, you know, you pass from one to another.
Mm-hmm.
So my buddy turns around and he said, look back at you, Joe. I looked back and there was about 15, 20, or 30 Russian women, all in babushkas, older women. They were standing along the bank. There must have been 20 or maybe 25 of them. And my buddy from Philadelphia, well, he wasn't a real good buddy, but he was an interpreter. He could speak fluent Russian. So I said, his name was Joe, too. I said, Joe, can you ask him what are they looking at us for? And he went over there, and the Russians had guards with machine guns all over. So right away they went over and blah, blah. He told them in Russian, he said, let's talk to them women. And he looked at him, you know, and then he told him in Russian, go ahead. So he asked the woman, he said, what are you doing standing there? What are you looking at? Do you ever see American people? No, son, she says, we haven't had beans for 15 or 20 years. We just like a handful of beans if you can afford it. But we had 50-pound sacks of beans, you know, we'd pass from one to another.
Yeah.
So I looked at my buddy, Bill Hicks, was his name from, he was a radical kid, a hot-headed Irishman. He said, we can't let 10 women go without having a little bit of beans. I said, what are you going to do? He said, I got a pocket knife. I'm going to cut one bag open. We'll drop it. So he gave it a big slit, and we dropped it, and then we picked the sack up, so it all scattered, and then this Bill kicked, that Russian guard come over there. He pointed the gun at us. I remember that. Pick him up, he says, you know, and Joe, the interpreter, come over. He says, you tell him for us in Russian. If he wants to pick him up, you pick him up yourself, or bring his family or Stalin up here to pick him. Oh, he was pissed. He was bloated. He stood there, his face was looking, he told Joe in Russian, they're not going to pick him up. Nope. So when we finally got the last bag, we had flour, sugar, and beans, sacks and sacks of beans, and there were shoes for our soldiers in Germany, prisoners. So when the last bag, we all mustered into a group like, I forget, I think they drove us down there in the Jeeps, or maybe we walked. Joe, them women attacked that pile of beans. There wasn't one piece of dirt or nothing left there. They scattered, picked up every single morsel of them. So that was about the only. Then they would do a lot of shooting, practicing.
Right.
Because this hotel did have a lot of shells. Germany did a lot of damage there. They killed. Well, the interpreter in that movie also told us that they killed 20,000 Russians in that one battle, and the Russians held them off. And the whole town mustered together and kept them out. They come up through Norway and Finland, I think, was the other country. They get right up to Murmansk.
Right.
What else?
Where'd you head to after Murmansk?
From Murmansk, we went back to Glasgow, Scotland. We were in Murmansk from March the 20th to April 29th. Yeah, April the 29th, almost 6 weeks. And from there we went to Scotland in May. We arrived there May 11th. And one of the guys on the ship, he was sunk 2 times in one day going up there on one of them, Murmansk Run, they call it. They used to have a feast. If you remember the Scharnhorst.
The what?
The German battleship, Scharnhorst. What it would do, it had some kind of a radar on it. They would sneak up in between the convoy, and all the guns would be leveled out. As soon as daybreak come, they'd knock out 10 or 15, 20 ships. So this one purser, he was a purser on the ship in the Merchant Marine. He says they hit his ship and sunk it, and he got picked up, luckily. Went on another ship. Half an hour later, or less, a bomb hit him. They got sunk again. He got picked up again. He says, I think they sunk 18 or 19 out of 25, something like that. There was a convoy of 25, and we had 25 little destroyers and stuff like that. No really big ships to protect us. They didn't have them. So that was from Scotland. Then we went to Scotland. We left Scotland on May the 16th. We were there for 5 days, Glasgow. We arrived in New York May the 28th. I got taken off to John McDonough on June the 1st. I came home on a 22-day leave.
When did you finally find out that Germany surrendered? When?
Well, we figured they would surrender. Roosevelt died. On our way up, we lowered the flag. We got a message over the Germany's pretty close. When did they surrender? I think May the
8th.
May 8th. So March, April, they were still active. But they took a beating, a lot of their subs were sunk. We were lucky we didn't encounter any of them. Only 2 of them with a white flag, if I recollect correctly. They had to be German. They were surfacing. They were probably told to get back. But that used to be a feast for them up there in Murmansk. In fact, there's a couple of books on it, I think. So from the... Oh, and the other thing that was spooky, I forgot to tell you, when we arrived there in Southampton and getting ready to go get our ship fixed for 400 troops.
Back in 44?
Yeah, it was back in 44. I forgot what day that was. Anyway, we pulled in there and dropped anchor, and our ship the anchor just hit the bottom, and the air raid siren sounded, so we took off. We walked Moseley up to our guns, So I had a loader that loaded the gun for me. So I unhooked the gun, and I'm strapping myself in. He's picking up a magazine to put in it. And one of the guys hollered, "Look out, here comes a plane." We all flattened out. I couldn't get... I'm trying to strap in, and he's trying to put the magazine in. By then we ducked because it was about 10 feet above us, Joe. Here it landed between us and another ship, and it was one of those German buzz bombs. That was the closest I come to getting killed. So after it landed, it sprung plates on the other ship. He had to pull it into port. So one of the guys remarked, he said, "Hey, Joe," he said, "you're the worst shot in the country, probably." He said, "But that night, if you'd have got strapped in early enough, you'd have hit that son of a bee, and it had 2 ton of bombs in it, 2 ton of explosives in it." He said, "We'd have probably, it would have been goodbye because it was right above us. Plain as day, we get to see it. I'd have had a shot at it. Oh my, was I shaking then? That's the only big scare we had, other than that torpedo."
When you guys found out that you guys finally won the war, Germany surrendered, what was the feeling? What happened on the ship?
Well, we knew we had Japan yet to contend with. So I came home on a 22-day leave. Oh, from the leave, we went when I went back, July the 2nd. I was in Norfolk, Virginia for 1 month. And from there, we were shipped to California we were attached to the amphibian forces for 1 month. And it was a small ship, and that's when I was really scared. It was maybe it was 50 or 75 feet long. But to go into the South Pacific with them typhoons and everything, we were scared. I said, "Oh my God, I hope Japan would quit." So we were on that regular Navy ship, and a couple of days before we were supposed to leave, the word came that Japan surrendered. Man, were we happy. No, it says the war's looking like they dropped that bomb in August, I think. So instead of us going, they took us off and put us in Treasure Island, and then we were supposed to serve. We were supposed to I got a job. My job was discharging the sailors. We'd count the months they were in, how much overseas time to get so many points. So then the war stopped in Japan. They surrendered. Joe, they had a big celebration. They busted more. They killed a couple of soldiers, lieutenants. Pushed them to Gwinda's. They busted the liquor store. There was 500,000 people running through the streets. And we was getting dressed. We wanted to go see that. You know, you're 20 years old.
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Man," he said, he come back. He said, "It's wild." He said they had a flagpole or like a statue or something. And this girl took all her clothes off and climbed up on top of it. And he said, "Man, was it crazy?" He said, "You wouldn't believe it." He said, "More fights everywhere." So they come down. They said, "Okay, short patrol duty. You're all going to be carrying loaded guns this time." So that was more scary than the war, you know. He said, "You're going to have to arrest every guy you see that makes any moves." So then they recruited too many of them. I think they didn't want to take any more in there. So we missed out on that. That was the only other excitement we had. What else?
Let me see. What happened afterwards? After the war, like, did you stay in the Navy or did you go home or?
Yeah. Well, what happened? The recruiting officer come walking through there and begging the guys to join in the regular Navy, you know, because we was in the Armed Guard. That was naval, like the reserve. But then we were in the regular Navy when we got on that little Navy ship, and it had 20 and 40 millimeter guns, like pea shooters. So we got drunk one day and we went and come back to the base, and my buddy from Gray's Landing, we kind of grew up together, and we were stationed together in that place, discharging guys. So we went, "Let's go re-enlist." We went up to the office and we were stone drunk, you know, staggering around. The guy, we went in there and he said, "You want to rejoin? Come on, boys. I need a couple of good guys like you, this and that." And my buddy looked at me and says, "You know what? I think we're drunk, but we're not that drunk." He said, "Come on, you're not going to sign up for just one term. Take a chance. You'll have a good time. Peacetime," and he said all that stuff. So we stood there for a while. I said, "You know what? I'm getting the hell out of here before he makes us sign." So that's the closest I come to signing over. We left there.
So, all around, how do you think the whole experience affected you?
Not too much, because I didn't get... Only excitement was that torpedo and Normandy Beach was kind of spooky. And but most of the shooting was inland when we were there. In 4 days, we moved pretty good. But you could smell... Oh, you could see nothing but... You could hear nothing but shooting. That was it. And one of our B-24 bombers right on the beach, it made a circle. There was smoke coming out of it. So it went over land, and we counted 9 parachutes jumping out of it. And that plane went, after the last guy jumped out, the plane went about 50 feet and nosedived straight down in an area. We was hoping there was nobody there. I don't think, there's no communications that much. We never did know if anybody got hurt with that plane exploding. So then how long was I in California? We was there for about 8 months, I think. Where did I got 1 battle star, because D5 is classified as in the war.
What was that?
1 battle star for being on Normandy Beach.
Oh.
We should have got something for Murmansk or Antwerp. That's where really we were close. Boy, if he would have broke through, we were prisoners. The ones they didn't shoot, we'd all been prisoners. And let's see, how long was I there? August 45, I went to San Francisco. And we were there till March.
March of...
March of 1246.
Oh.
I was discharged on May the 6th, 1946. It was different than the Vietnam War and the Korean War, because everybody was all excited about it, when it ended and everything.
Yeah.
We got real good treatment when we come out. They give us an unemployment check. I remember it was $52.20, $20 a week. Can you imagine? That's when wages were 60, 70 cents an hour.
Gee, that's not too much.
It sure wasn't too much. But from there, I went in the coal mines.
All right.
No, I went back to my job in Jersey, and what else about the war business? We were just lucky. When I went in, we all tried to get in the Marines.
Oh, you tried for the Marines?
We tried for the Marines, and the guy said, "We're loaded up. We have to send a bunch of them back." So this is the only thing we got: the infantry or the Navy. And when I was a kid, one of the girlfriends of mine is in our gang. I was down the river, and she went home and told her mother that I drowned it. So I come out, I was sitting on a bank, doing nothing. My brother Steve went down there, and he picked me up and gave me a kick. I forget how old I was. I was 10 or 12, maybe something like that. So he said, "Don't you never come within 5 miles of this river?" I said, "Well, we live a mile away from it." He beat the hell out of me, and I come up on the bank. My mother was walking in front of 400 people, the whole patch. About 300-400 people were coming down to see John Joe Hunchuck. So I always told that girl I'm going to beat her ass up. She's still living. She lives in Pennsylvania somewhere. So when the guy said, "You got a choice, Navy or Army infantry," I said. So we looked around. I think almost everybody signed up for the Navy. I said, "Well, I drowned one time, and I don't think you can be drowned twice. How about that? So I'll take the Navy." So I came through pretty good.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks, Pep.
That was about all of it. If I think of anything important, but that's about the biggest. The trip to Russia was an experience. Okay, Joe. Is there anything else wait, Bubba wants to talk to you.
And there you have it. That was my grandfather, Joseph Hunchuck, who I am named after, telling some stories about World War II, his Navy experience. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's literally a slice out of the past. My pap is now deceased. He died, I want to say 2006, 2007. My grandmother might kill me for not remembering the exact year, but that's what happens. Anyway, we will be replaying this again. When I say we, I mean I. On August 31st of this year, that is the anniversary of when he did pass away. And we'll also be playing it for not Independence Day, that would be today. We'll also be replaying it for Veterans Day in November. Give a little slice of Americana, play it on that day, and, celebrate the troops by giving some stories from one that actually fought in World War II. So, I thank you all for listening. Once again, check out the website where you should be right now, www.hunchucklaw.com. Follow me on Twitter at HunchuckLaw, HunchuckLaw. Like us on Facebook. And don't forget, if you get arrested, if you have some family issues, don't say, call Hunchuck, 321-231-9093. And check us out next Monday. We're going to have a brand new episode, episode 1, officially. And I'll see you then.